There comes a moment in every life when silence becomes unbearable, when the voice inside you starts screaming louder than the noise of the world. Not with complaints, not with excuses, but with demands. Demands for more, demands for better, demands for greatness. Because deep down, beneath the distractions, beyond the expectations of others, you already know. You were never meant to live a small, forgettable life. You were born with potential carved into your bones. But potential alone is nothing. Potential only becomes power when it is demanded into existence. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of what you're willing to demand of yourself. And until you raise that standard, until you draw a line in the sand and declare, "This is who I am," and nothing less will do, you'll stay stuck in the same life you've always known. History does not remember those who wanted success. It remembers those who demanded it from themselves, no matter the price. You think Thomas Edison stumbled into greatness? No. He demanded a solution when the world was still shivering in the dark. 10,000 failures, 10,000 dead ends. But he didn't ask for comfort. He didn't beg for a break. He demanded that the world change or he would die trying. And in that kind of fire, the impossible melts. See, success doesn't respond to hope. It responds to expectation, to intention, to the kind of self-respect that refuses to coast through life on cruise control. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Life gives you what you tolerate. If you tolerate average, you will receive it in abundance. If you tolerate laziness, distraction, procrastination, they will flood your life until you are drowning in regret. But if you begin to demand excellence, demand consistency, demand discipline, demand your purpose to come forth from the fog, you begin to wake up, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You don't just chase your goals, you become worthy of them. But don't mistake demanding with wishing. Wishing is what children do on birthdays. Demanding is what warriors do in battle. It's not loud, it's not desperate. It's quiet, unshakable, ruthless. It shows up in your choices, what you eat, how you move, how you think, how you talk to yourself when no one's watching. The world doesn't need more motivation. It needs more self-respect. That sacred moment when you look yourself in the mirror and say, "This version of me is done. Burn it. Let it die." Because the next version is coming and it will rise like a hammer wrapped in fire. That's the mindset of someone who becomes unrecognizable in a matter of months. And if you study the legends, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Disneys, the Lincolns, you won't find men who waited for opportunity. You'll find men who built it, bent steel with their will, carved legacy out of rock and resistance. Because they weren't asking the world for permission, they were demanding something higher from themselves first. And once you do that, once you step into that posture of personal authority, everything begins to shift. Your mind sharpens, your energy returns. The world starts responding to you differently, not because it's changed, but because you have. Because belief is a mirror. What you believe, you broadcast. And what you broadcast, the world reflects back. But belief doesn't begin with others believing in you. It begins with you believing in your demands. What will you no longer accept? What have you been tolerating that's poisoning your potential? What version of you needs to be buried today so the one with fire in their eyes can finally stand? See, the problem isn't that people aim too high and miss. The problem is they aim too low and hit. They ask for just enough, enough to pay the bills, enough to be liked, enough to not fail. And they get exactly that, a life of mediocrity, comfort, and quiet despair. But when you begin to demand mastery, when you begin to demand purpose, when you demand greatness like your life depends on it, because it does, That's when doors open that were invisible before. Not because they weren't there, but because your mindset couldn't yet see them.
When Henry Ford was laughed at for envisioning a gasoline-powered vehicle that could replace the horse, he didn't back down. He didn't retreat into mediocrity. He demanded a future from the world that didn't yet exist, and then he built it. Because vision is not about what is, it's about what must become. And only those who demand their vision become real have the stamina to drag it out of the unseen. You don't need more information. You don't need another motivational video or book or quote. You need to decide, who must I become to live the life I know I'm capable of? And when that answer comes, you pursue it with full force, full heart, and full fire. Because there is no path without pressure. There is no breakthrough without resistance. Every version of you that's stronger, wiser, more focused, more fearless, that version is hiding behind your current excuses, behind the distractions you call rest, behind the comfort you've mistaken for safety. But greatness does not exist in comfort. Greatness is born in pressure, forged in repetition, and sealed in discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is love, the deepest form of self-respect, because it says, I love my future too much to betray it for this moment's weakness. You want to know what separates the extraordinary from the average? It's not talent. It's not IQ. It's not luck. It's that the extraordinary demand more from themselves when no one else is watching. They win the invisible battles, the early mornings, the late nights, the missed parties, the quiet sacrifices, because they understand a truth most people never learn. Success is not something you chase, it's something you become. And you become it when your standards rise so high, even your previous best becomes unacceptable. This is where most people fall. They raise their goals, but not their standards. They want the dream, but still keep the habits that destroy it. But your habits are the bricks of your destiny. Lay them with laziness, and you'll build regret. Lay them with purpose, and you'll build an empire. That's the code. That's the law. And here's what they don't teach in school. Every result you've ever had, every win or loss, came from what you were willing or unwilling to demand of yourself, not what the world allowed. What you accepted, what you tolerated in the quiet, what you permitted behind closed doors. And when you realize that, truly internalize it, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You become the architect of your outcome. But architects don't design beautiful structures by accident. They plan, they visualize, they sweat over the details. That's what your life requires now. No more, let's see what happens. No more, if it works out. That is the vocabulary of the average. You are not built for average. And if you've forgotten that, it's time to remember. Time to burn that soft, small version of you that only shows up when it's easy. And instead, awaken the one who shows up regardless. The one who still goes when it hurts. The one who leads when no one follows. The one who keeps marching forward even while bleeding because the mission is louder than the pain. Demand of yourself. Not someday, now. Because every day you delay the highest version of you, you delay the life that only that version can access. And the truth is, the world needs that version. Your family needs that version. Your future needs that version. But no one can demand it for you. That's your job, and it's the most sacred job you'll ever have. You want to know why most people drift? Why they live their entire lives building someone else's dream, waiting for permission to pursue their own? It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're weak. It's because they lack clarity. They've never decided with conviction where they are going. They wake up and react to the day, scrolling, working, consuming, avoiding. But visionless living is the fastest path to spiritual death, because a human without purpose is like a ship without a rudder, at the mercy of every storm, every wave, every opinion, every distraction. But the moment you get clear, truly clear, on who you are, what you stand for, and where you're going, the chaos fades. Not because the world gets easier, but because you become immovable. Clarity is your compass. It's the voice in the storm that says, "This is who I am. This is what I do, and nothing will pull me from that path." When Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination, he didn't fold. He had a vision so clear, so alive in his soul, that no rejection could erase it. He saw castles where others saw empty land. He saw magic where others saw madness. And because he demanded that vision into the world, it exists. Not because he hoped, not because he waited, but because he saw it, believed it, and then breathed it into existence. That's what you must do now. Craft a vision that scares you. A vision so big it makes your current reality feel like a betrayal. And then stare at it until it becomes more real than your doubts. Write it, speak it, live it. Because until your vision becomes your obsession, your mind will chase every shiny distraction it sees. But when you lock in, when your vision becomes a non-negotiable part of your identity, then time becomes your ally. Energy returns. Opportunities begin to magnetize toward your intention. And the world starts bending, not to your ego, but to your clarity. Because people follow the clear. Resources find the focused. Doors open for the determined. And none of that begins with waiting. It begins with demanding alignment between your thoughts, your actions, and your destiny. Alignment is power because it creates momentum. It eliminates friction. And it fuels discipline, not as punishment, but as devotion. That's what your vision deserves. Devotion. Not occasional effort, not half-hearted tries, relentless pursuit. Like Lincoln, who studied law by candlelight and walked miles just to borrow a single book. Like Carnegie, who went from steel worker to steel empire, not because he was lucky, but because he was laser-focused. They didn't dabble. They didn't see how it goes. They lived with purpose under pressure. They treated every hour like it mattered because it does. Your time is your life, and wasting it on things that do not serve your vision is theft. Theft from your future. Theft from your legacy. You don't have time to scroll through a life you're not living. You don't have time to be at war with yourself while pretending to look busy. You have one time for one thing, becoming who you were called to be. And that demands clarity, not comfort, purpose, not popularity. You'll have to disappoint people. You'll have to break patterns you were raised in. You'll have to walk away from good enough so you can step into great. That's the price, and it's not negotiable. But here's the truth. Once you taste purpose, you'll never crave comfort again. Because purpose fills you in places pleasure never could. It gives you a reason to suffer, a reason to rise, a reason to fight. That's what makes the difference. Not talent, not birthright. Direction. The decision that your life will mean something not someday, but today. So wake up with fire, walk with vision, and when doubt whispers that your dream is too big, too crazy, too far, smile, because that's the sound of your old self dying and your future being born.
You have the vision, you have the fire, but vision without action is a hallucination. Clarity without discipline is a dream that dies slow. You say you want it? Then prove it in what you do when no one's looking, because that's where the real you is forged. Not in the big moments, the stages, the spotlights, the wins. In the repetition, the grind, the dull, lonely hours where no applause lives, and the only voice you hear is your own whispering, "Keep going." Discipline is not glamorous. It doesn't shout. It shows up.
It's the quiet architect behind every empire you admire. Behind every great inventor, leader, visionary, you'll find a life structured by non-negotiables. Edison didn't wait to feel inspired. He demanded results from the hours others wasted. Michael Jordan didn't train until he was tired. He trained until his standards became legendary. That's the key. The ones who win are not the ones who have the most motivation. They're the ones who do it anyway. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. It's telling your weakness, you don't drive anymore, sit in the back seat and shut your mouth. You think warriors feel like showing up every day? No, they show up because it's who they are. That's the level of identity you must step into, because you don't attract success. You become someone who deserves it, not through words, through rituals, through actions done in the dark that make you dangerous in the light. And make no mistake, there will be war inside you, a war between comfort and purpose, between the pull of distraction and the voice of destiny, between who you are and who you're becoming. You don't negotiate with that war. You win it. You dominate it. And the secret is this: you don't have to feel like doing it. You just have to do it until you feel unstoppable doing it. The gym, the journal, the learning, the grind, the repetition, the investment, day after day, hour after hour, until your results no longer ask for validation because they command respect. And here's the truth that burns away all excuses. Every action is a vote for your future. Every skipped workout, every delayed decision, every ignored opportunity is a vote for staying the same. But every cold shower, every hard conversation, every early morning and late night and laser-focused hour of work is a vote for greatness. A vote that says, I demand more. I demand mastery. I demand a life that roars louder than my fears. Because while the world tells you to slow down, take it easy, don't push too hard, greatness doesn't whisper. Greatness demands. It demands sacrifice. It demands obsession. It demands that you stop worshiping comfort and start training your soul for war. That's what this is. Not a self-help journey, not a feel-good moment. This is war. A war for your potential. And you win by showing up every single day like your future depends on it, because it does. So tear down the version of you that says, maybe tomorrow. Bury the one that says, I'll start when it's perfect. That voice is not your friend. It's the enemy of everything you could become. And if you listen to it long enough, it will convince you that an average life is good enough. But not for you. Not anymore. You've seen too much now. You've tasted what it feels like to wake up with intention, to move with purpose, to live not just for the next paycheck, the next distraction, the next dopamine hit, but for legacy. You are not here to blend in. You are not here to follow trends. You are here to set a new standard, to break generational chains, to become the kind of person whose name makes others straighten their spine, not because you're loud, but because your discipline is undeniable. That's the new currency. Not popularity, not opinions, consistency, precision, devotion. And when you align your days with that fire, when you live with a code that others would crumble under, you don't need to chase success. Success chases you.
But no matter how disciplined you are, no matter how sharp your vision, how powerful your purpose, there will be days when life hits back hard. When the wind blows the opposite way, when the people you counted on vanish, when the doors you built your hopes on slam shut in your face. And in that moment, when the plan fails and the pressure multiplies, you face the real test. Will you break or will you bend and rise? Because discipline gets you moving, but resilience keeps you alive. Resilience is the spiritual armor of the relentless. It's the force that says, I didn't come this far to fold. It's Thomas Edison rebuilding after his factory burned to the ground and saying without flinching, there is great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burned up. It's Oprah being told she wasn't fit for television. It's Nelson Mandela emerging from 27 years in prison without hatred in his heart, but fire in his soul. You see, resilience doesn't mean you don't feel pain. It means you learn how to transform that pain into power. Not by numbing it, not by running from it, but by facing it fully and standing up anyway. Because most people fold the first time life says no, but the winners? They hear no as not yet. They hear rejection as redirection. They hear obstacles as opportunity wearing a disguise. They refuse to be defined by a bad season, a rough year, or a brutal chapter, because they know my story isn't over until I say it is. You think the world owes you clarity? It doesn't. You think your dreams will arrive with an apology and an invitation? No. They'll test you. They'll taunt you. They'll demand you prove just how bad you want them. And in those brutal hours, those 3 a.m. breakdowns, those lonely grinds, those moments where quitting feels easier than breathing, you'll remember, this pain is not punishment. It's purification. It's the fire burning away the weakness you can no longer carry forward. The future you're building is too heavy for excuses, too meaningful for fear, too powerful to be delayed by temporary discomfort. And once you accept that, once you stop expecting ease and start demanding strength, everything shifts. You begin to welcome the resistance. You stop avoiding difficulty and start hunting discomfort, because you understand what most never will. The pain you endure now becomes the strength you lead with later, and that makes you dangerous. It makes you untouchable, because when you stop being afraid of falling, you learn how to fly through the storm. You adapt. You adjust, you recalibrate your strategy, but never your standard, never your identity, never your fire. And that is how legends are made, not by getting everything right, but by refusing to let anything stop them. They rise again and again and again, until rising becomes their nature, until failure fears them. That's what you must become. Not flawless, unstoppable. And that takes more than just grit. It takes emotional mastery, because you cannot lead yourself if your emotions lead you. You can't build a powerful life with a chaotic mind. Every time you allow anger to decide for you, every time you let fear dictate your choices, every time you surrender to insecurity instead of standing in your truth, you give your power away. And power is too precious to give away to temporary feelings. Master your inner world, or your outer world will master you. This is the law. Your emotions are signals, not commands. Feel them, respect them, but do not serve them. Lead them. Because the leader of your destiny must be you, not your moods, not your fears, not your past. You. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, breathe. When chaos hits, anchor yourself in your mission. When the old version of you screams for comfort, remind it you are no longer in control. This life is not run by your doubt. It is led by your decision. You are the standard now. You are the storm now.